Hi, I'm Monisha and welcome back to the Knit Guru. Today, what are we working on? I'm picking up my crochet hook for the first time in a couple of days, or even longer actually. Why? Because when I first learnt to crochet, I went to a class, I did some granny squares, was top of the class even though it wasn't a competition, but I won crochet class. And one of the things that I did was I crocheted some tiny bees as keychains for my partner, which if you knew where he worked, it would make sense. Either way, they were not particularly great. He has loved them because he's a nice guy. And then I thought, what am I going to do for Valentine's Day this year? Because we're still working on finishing this house. You'd think it would be faster if I wasn't crocheting and would, paint a door or something. There are still things for me to paint, but I'm at a standstill at the moment with things that I can do without some of the many things he needs to do, which are far more technical and beyond my scope. I like to think that I have fully recovered from my concussion. My brain tells me otherwise. So then the other day I thought, I know exactly what I'm going to do for Valentine's Day. I'm going to replace the tiny bees on his keychain with a new bee in a smaller crochet hook, because I don't even remember what hook I used. I know that I used some yarn that I was using for some socks for him, and so it was using the leftover of it was DK sock yarn. How many stitches am I up to here? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I need to add one more increase. I'm throwing caution to the wind this morning, and I am not using a stitch marker because I'm a wild child. So what I'm currently using is I'm using a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook from Clover, and it's just my favorite one. I do think I need to replace this one. It might have a break somewhere up there, but it's in the point that doesn't matter. I've got some scrap yarn from the Daisy crochet blanket, which, just between you and me, I found 2 more squares. So I could have made 2 less squares for the blanket because I needed 42 and it turns out I made 44. But I didn't know I made 44 until this morning when I was going through the scrap yarn, and there it was. So I'm using some of this yellow. I'm using some scrap. This is a charcoaly, almost dark chocolate brown scrap from my book vest. I don't think you've seen the book vest at this point. And the white is also, she says throwing that around. The white is also from the same Daisy blanket. Where's the end of this white? I've just wrapped it around to this end, haven't I? Yeah. So I haven't made a bee in such a long time. And what I thought I was going to do is I'm going to make a bee and a chain and a little heart. And I'm going to embroider on the little heart to say, be mine. Because if you can't, tiny spider, if you can't have a pun for Valentine's Day, what can you do? I know that I've got a bee tutorial on my channel because I think everybody has a bee tutorial on their channel. So this video is not so much a tutorial as it is just a video. And I'll put together the bee in real time. Yeah, the previous ones I made, I used little safety eyes on. I clearly didn't use the right size safety eyes, or maybe I didn't put the right number of safety eyes on in the first place. Oh, the tragedies. I'm just now going to close this circle here. I make my bee wings by making a magic loop with 6 stitches in the magic loop. Did I bring any tiny scissors up with me? Is the real question. I mean, surely I brought tiny scissors. Surely. If I do have to go back to the house and pick up my tiny scissors, it's not the end of the world. Because it would mean that I don't have a tiny darning needle either. I've got lots of loose crochet hooks. It's like I've gotten lazy. What's this? I hope that's a tiny dinosaur. Somewhere Oh, okay, not what I'm looking for. The daisy blanket was made with a kit. And it was one of those ridiculously cheap kits that came with everything you need, and it included these. I don't like these. Right, okay, so how do I do my bee wings? It's just 6 stitches in a magic loop, and then I'm going to tie them into the body when we get between the stripes. I'm just gonna pull that piece of yarn through here because I didn't do it before. I find that it's way easier than sewing them in, and it's less likely that they're going to fall off. I've never lost a wing on one of my bees, one of my mini bees. I did go through a phase of making a lot of bees when I was first learning to crochet because it was fast and they had increases and decreases and magic loops and color changes. So it was one of those things that was a good thing to practice on. However, at a certain point, you can't give the bees away. Everybody makes crochet bees and sells them at markets. And I mean, I've got so many floating around that I was going to do a market over Christmas with my nephew, but that was, well, if you know, you know. I've been recovering from a concussion, and yes, I am back at work full time as of tomorrow, and I'm very nervous about it. Probably more nervous than I need to be, but I know that I'm still not 100%, but it's time. So I've got my 2 tiny little wings here, and my bee body itself. What I'm going to do is embroider eyes onto this one rather than do the safety eyes, because the safety eyes, one of them went missing on one of his bees early on, which I think ended up inspiring the zombie pattern that's on my channel. I'll try and remember to link the zombie to this one. This one's just really a Valentine's Day appreciation post more than anything else. I've got 12 stitches. Do I want to go to 18? I might go to 18. Let's go to 18. Let's live on the wild side. We are stuffing this with scraps. For Father's Day, I made him the scrappy socks, which there might be a card linked to the scrappy socks if I remember. This house that we're sitting in that's incomplete. What I should really do at some point, there will be a final summary when we move in of the house and the construction process and all of that sort of thing. But he is the ultimate greenie, and I mean that in the best possible way. He finds a reuse for absolutely everything. Yeah, he's absolutely incredible. There are pieces of wood that we purchased early on because we had to do framing for all the boxing and to hold the piles up. And so we bought this pallet of wood, and it's been reused so often. And then I think there was a discussion about how we might use it in the laundry, in the hot water cupboard. Craziness. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6. Then it's an increase, and then this is the problem with not doing a putting a stitch marker and marking the end of my row as I'm coming to count. Yeah, he's got the pile of actual construction waste for this house is tiny. There's just no waste, which is bonkers, really. It's completely bonkers. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 7. One more. Yeah, he's just managed to reuse everything or find a home for everything. The play that I wrote that won a national competition last year, the set was built out of offcuts of framing timber. There's some excess timber that his brother ordered to do the floor, that because Dave's really good at maths, he could work out where we needed to have, where all the bottom bits of the floor needed to be cut to make the best use of the actual timber. So there's enough timber left over to do the loaders and bearers for the deck. And it's not a small deck. Like, he's incredible. Anyway, I'm up to, this is just a circle. I'm up to 18 stitches in a row. I'm just undoing half of this last stitch to change colour. I'm not increasing anymore. I'm just going to a colour change to put in a black stripe now. Yeah, so he's currently building a deck with leftover pieces. I mean, don't get me wrong, we've still ended up having to spend a lot of money on a lot of materials. He's completely unflappable. I took the house paint out of the car, and we're talking this was like $284 of a 10-litre pail, and I took it out of the car and I put it on the side of the driveway. I sent him a picture of it and went off to work. And about 30 minutes later, my stepson rang to say that he had run it over. I was like, ring your father. And he was just like, well, these things happen. You know, he's an unflappable man, and that is an incredible quality in anybody. So, I mean, I am a big fan of this man, obviously. He has gone out of his way to look after me and to keep building the house this whole time that I've had my head injury. He's never questioned whenever I've needed a break and haven't cooked dinner, and he's done it, or the number of times we've had takeaways because I've just not been up to it. He's never questioned whether or not, he's never questioned anything. He's just been the most loving and supportive person on the planet. I'm incredibly lucky. He makes me very happy, and he treats me like a princess, even though I don't necessarily always deserve it. Yeah. So, does he want a new keychain? No, probably not. But he really liked his scrappy socks for Father's Day. I do knit him a pair of socks for his birthday and for Father's Day and for Christmas every year. Except last year he didn't get socks for Christmas. So I was tempted to make him socks for Valentine's Day. I'm not sure if I'm going to get there. I've got one sock finished for Christmas and I haven't even finished the second one. So I should finish the second one, and at least then he could have Valentine's Day socks. But when I thought of the stupidly ridiculous bee pun, that's when I realized I needed to stop everything and make this video and just make a little keychain. I'm not really the fastest crocheter in the world, and I'm definitely not necessarily the most entertaining person to listen to when I'm ranting on while trying to remember how to crochet. I have not made amigurumi for a wee while. I made some reindeer over Christmas, and I'm still working on, not the pattern, but I'm working on the pattern, if that makes sense. Like I haven't released the pattern as yet. I'm wondering whether or not I should have done 2 rows with each of these coloured stripes rather than 1 rose. 1 rose? Maybe I want 3 stripes on my bee. I feel like I normally do 2 stripes, but I could do 3 stripes. I'm living wild. Yeah. I'm also not sure whether or not I'm going to crochet the heart or whether or not I'm going to knit the heart. I know exactly how to knit the heart. I'm not sure that I know exactly how to crochet the heart. I think I've got a tutorial for the heart knitted on my channel. I'm not sure. I just really wanted to make a punny keychain. Good times. Good times. Right. Now I need to go back to yellow. Yeah. Where was I? So this afternoon, I was going to go to work today as an extra voluntary day and just get ready and do stuff, but I decided not to. It sounds so lazy. It's not as lazy as it seems. This afternoon, we need to go and return Charles the Wrestler. I need to go and have a discussion about an upcoming project that has nothing to do with knitting and everything to do with theatre. And we need the difficulty of doing, I've got hand cramps because I'm crocheting tight like a tiger. The difficulty of doing a self-build is that to save money, you end up doing so much of the work. Like yesterday, we were installing the shower. Very exciting, don't get me wrong. Very happy to be installing the shower. I, of course, do not have the same set of practical skills. Unlike Liam Neeson, I do not have a particular set of skills. I am a mere mortal, and I'm pretty much only good for painting or following basic instructions. I did put a bathroom cabinet together, mostly correctly. Do I want another black stripe? Maybe. I think this needs another black stripe, doesn't it? One more black stripe and then a bee butt. That will work. So we're going to Wellington, and we're going to go to a fair few mitre 10s, or for those people who are overseas, think of it as like your Home Depot or your Lowe's or your any of those places. And we're going to buy the door handles. Yep. Also have to remember that there's a series of gift vouchers in the car. Is something that is a fatal flaw in both Dave and I, and that neither of us are very good at remembering to use gift vouchers before they expire. Yep, I am terrible at it. So I've got one that's due to expire in a few months, and it really needs to just be used on some door handles. I remember exactly when I was given it, and every now and again I go to use it and I think, no, I'll save it for something special, and I haven't bought anything special with it, but it just needs to be used before it expires, and then I can buy myself something special in memory of the person who gave me the card. There's an Erstwilder drop this afternoon. Maybe that's what I do. I have reached the brooch part of my life. We'll go with that. That's the last of my black ones. I can cut the yarn off. So Erstwilder have these fantastically beautiful resin brooches. I bought them back when there was a Care Bears release, and they had one where there was Cheer Bear, and she's connected to a balloon as the second half of the brooch, and I died on the spot as I saw it, and I purchased it. And since then I've purchased many more, and that's become one of my go-to places for gifts and things for people. They make beautiful birds. But I didn't get anything from the last drop because I had just spent about $2,500 on legal fees. Yeah. Basically, my old house that I had with my ex-husband has finally sold. But it's been a long drawn-out process. And I feel like I spend half my life just paying legal fees. Right, so what I'm doing at the moment is I'm just using my crochet hook to pull my yarn tails of my wings through the actual crochet itself. So let's go like that. So I've pulled the wing through in two different spots, and then all I'm going to do with the tails of the yarn is just tie them in a knot. And if I tie them in a knot, they're not coming off. Not coming off. Oh, that's a terrible bun. So there's wing number 1, looking cute. Now let's get wing number 2, and let's see if I can manage to get wing number 2 on in the same direction. Sometimes I manage it, sometimes I don't. There we go. Yeah, no, Dave is one of those people who, he's very easy to be around. He's very kind. He's very giving. His love language is acts of service. He will drop anything and do anything for anyone just because he can. I completely admire the way that he works. Like he just keeps going. He's never stressed. He gets mildly hangry if he's not fed on time. But that's about the most. That's about the most I can say about the man in terms of his fatal flaws. He doesn't have any. Yeah, he's very, very sweet. So I've now got my wings attached. I've got my stripes, and I've still got 18 stitches in the row. And I'm just trying to work out now, do I want a row of yellow before doing the first decrease to 12, or do I not? Is that the size of a bee butt, really? No, let's just start the decreasing. So now I'm just going to single crochet 1, and then I'm going to single crochet 2 together, or a decrease, if you will. Yeah, and then, yeah, am I going to make a heart out of crochet, or am I going to make it out of knitting? I feel like the easiest thing for me to do is to make the heart as a knit heart. Then he's got a piece that's crocheted and a piece that's knitted. And that feels like I'm being cute and adorable. He will not know the difference between knitting and crochet. And I am fine with that. My sister recently described my hobbies as some of the most boring hobbies in the world. I like growing vegetables. I like reading Shakespeare. I like knitting and crochet, and I don't care if that makes me boring. I'm now going to shove some more of my yarn scraps. I sorted them out by colour before. I'm not sure why I needed to be honest. I could have just shoved a handful in there. I have got some stuffing, but I looked at my pile of yarn scraps and thought I'm going to have to do something with them. And because Dave is one of those people who reuses everything, if I tell him that his keychain is filled with the yarn scraps that are generally speaking floating around our floor, the cat plays with them, they jam the vacuum cleaner, every now and again there's a piece of yarn that surfaces at his mother's house, and it's all mine. He's found pieces of yarn at his work that have just clearly walked in on his shoes or on his socks. He finds it an endearing way of being reminded of me. It would make much more sense if he thought of it as I clearly don't have a good system for storing all my yarn scraps. Right, okay, we are now going from our 12 stitches in our second to last row, and we're going to decrease 6 times around. So we're going to end up with 6 stitches in our last row. And then I will show you my little bee. Then I'm going to go away and make a little heart, but I'll link the pattern to the heart for you, both down below in the description and in a card up above, so that you can make one for yourself. I'm going to knit the heart off camera, and then we'll reassemble. We'll assemble everything in the end. Last decrease. last decrease. Last decrease, pull my yarn through. We don't want to look at it right now because it's like a bee butthole at the moment, but there's my little bee. Doesn't she look cute? So I will give her 2 little eyes and a little nose, but where's my, oh man. My bag of crappy supplies that has a 3mm crochet hook and a 2mm crochet hook and needles that are far too fat and plastic, but it's going to do because it doesn't matter for this bit. I'm just going to go around the end of my bee and evidently that's going to be the bit that makes me lose the will to speak. Then I'm going to bring my yarn tail up through right between the wings because I will use this yarn tail to stitch my keychain onto after. So here's my little fat bee. So cute. I will now make a little heart and then we'll rejoin and we'll put the keychain together and that'll be my way of saying Happy Valentine's Day to both Dave and to the rest of you because, yeah, there's many things I love in this world and my dog is one of them and Dave is the other one and one does a lot more for me and the other one's just been around my life longer. We'll go with that. Right, I'm going to make a heart. I'll be back. Right, so I have gone away. I have made this wee tiny heart and I'll link the pattern for that one. I've got some embroidery floss and I've got my sharp needle here and I am going to attempt the embroidery. Do I want all 6 threads? Do I start with the eyes? If I start with the eyes, the chances of mucking that up are way, way lower than mucking up the the words. Okay, now the way I do eyes is I'm just going to go back and forth between the 2 eye holes, you know, in a totally normal, I don't know if this is a totally normal fashion. I see most people seem to do their embroidery one eye then the other eye, and that way they can do the one where you go up and down over the same spot and it becomes quite oval. And I've done that before. However, this is quite a small bee. So my feeling is if I just go back and forth between the 2 eyes, building up the height that I'm after in the eyeball. That's something, right? And then, can I manage a wee smile? Is the question. So I've got some eyeballs. There's his eyeballs. There's his eyeballs. And now let's go for a wee smile. And if I try and just follow the path, maybe. Is that working? Is that a smile? I think you can see a smile. It's a little bit straight. Do I need to go there and pinch it down in 2 more spots? Maybe I do. Maybe I do. I'll tell you my big struggle. I am not very good at faces. You know, and the thing is that I used to be good at faces. I used to be good at bringing character to my bears and things when I was a kid. And that was something I got from my grandmother. But it's got harder as I've got older. The other problem that I'm not refusing to deal with, but I've got to deal with next, is one of the things that seems to happen with concussion is that your eyesight changes. And I have not... I've worn glasses in the past, and then I didn't need to wear glasses, and then I did, and then I didn't. I mean, there's been some weird optometric fluctuations in my life, where there have been points where I've worn glasses and points where I haven't. But I need to go back and get them checked, because now I really feel like I need to wear glasses for all the things. There's a little face on him. He looks happy. Now I'm going to attempt to put letters on the other guy. Now, I'm just going to do a trial, and if I just do a trial to make sure that the letters can be seen, because I don't know how to do this, really. It's one of those ones where I've jumped in full speed and gone, yeah, sure, I'm going to do this. And I haven't really thought through the ramifications of my skill level. What does a letter B look like, and how do you do that? Do I want to go all no, let's go to there. And then if I come out to there, maybe. I'll show you after I've got a B, and we'll decide. I mean, by the time this goes up, it's probably going to be far too late. I could watch an embroidery tutorial. It's not going to happen. Oh, okay. I am okay with this. That's a B. Sort of. Where's that come from? Was that fluff? I don't know. It looks like a B. I think it looks like a B. Maybe it doesn't look like a B. I think maybe I've been too cocky. Maybe if I just redo this last bit. Yeah, it's... I really don't think that I made my smartest move when I thought I was just going to use the 6 strands at once. I feel like that might not have been the smartest move at all. It might have been the opposite of the smartest move. But we're too far down the track. 1 letter out of 6 more. Okay. Up, dropped it. This is less than quality content, isn't it? Oh, this can't be bad. Okay, but an E is going to be easier than a B. All right, so we're going to stick with the fact that an E is going to be easier than a B. And the E is going to be astoundingly amazing. I'm going to want to undo this, aren't I? That's so bad. Okay, I'm going to turn off the camera and I'm going to attempt to do this and not use all 6 strands of embroidery floss and not record it while I attempt to do this. We'll take it as a win that I managed to put eyes on my B while I was talking, but I clearly can't do letters. The other thing that's happened since being concussed is that I really struggle to write with a pen. I've yet to test my creative writing abilities, but we all know that I'm worried about how that's gone. But I have 100% lost my ability to hold a pen. So I have been cleaning out all my fountain pens and bought a new fountain pen, and I'm hoping that some nice new stationery will just encourage me to work on my handwriting again, because it's really gone. Okay. I'm going to unpick this and start again, and then we'll come back and you'll see my finished project and it'll be amazing. Something like that. So here's as good as it's going to get is my slightly crappy, let's see if I put it in front of my face, whether that makes any difference, might be mine, even though it does look a little bit like it says be mime. At least the B is clear and the little B. And so now what I need to do is to get my little chain links so that I can hook it onto this chain here. And what my plan is, because did I remember to bring them? No, I did not. But what my plan is something like, get in there. I really need to get my eyes checked. It's been on the list of things to do, only it just hasn't made it to the top. Right, okay, so we're going to put the B on the bottom and we're going to put the heart up off of this one so that they can hang at a different height. That's my plan. That's my plan. I will hook that together and you'll see it in a picture at the end because there's really no way that I can show it all at once this way. All right, we're several days further along on this project because I got sidetracked in my craft storage. I do have my dangly thing that I'm going to use and we're going to stitch it on top of the B here. The other thing I found was I have a whole stack of these phone charm Watsits and one of them is red. So what I'm going to do with my sharp darning needle is that I'm just going to stitch it on the top. Honestly, I had forgotten about having these things in my stash at all, so this is exciting. Right, okay, so do I want to do it this way or that way? This way, yes. I'm still thinking this through. You know, you'd think I'd be able to make a, a decision in the amount of time that it's been between working on this project, but there we go. I was hoping to find my tiny little jump rings, but I didn't. There's still so much in storage. I really hoped that we would have moved into the house by now, but that's all good. Now, if I just do that and get my little scissors, trim that off there. So I've got my really well embroidered bee mine there, and now I'm going to take my yellow end here and stitch it on the bottom of this one. Now this one, I know that I got this set from Daiso, but they're all over the place. I also have some that are silver, somewhere in storage. But for the moment, I can only find my coloured ones. So I figure if I do a yellow one here on my bee, I'm just making this as sturdy as possible. And honestly, as wide as possible so that if this ring here, the split ring here opens, it's not going to easily just pull through. Right, then I'm just going to come through my bee, pull that tight. I'm going to throw in a little wee stitch or two around his body, just so that the end doesn't pull through easily. I'm going to trim it off. Okay, now I'm going to assemble it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bit and thread it through. Oh, I wanted to thread it through this top notch. Maybe I will. I will. That's what I'll do. I'm going to stick with my initial intention. There we go. Okay. Genius, mate. Genius. Okay, so this is my ridiculous Valentine's keychain for my partner this year. I look forward to hanging them on his keys on Valentine's Day itself because I'm bonkers. All right, I'll see you next week. Bye. In the meantime, this was kind of a silly video, I know, but I thought, what's a better idea than a Valentine's video, including the projects that I'm doing for Valentine's Day? So, yeah, I will catch you next week. Bye.